Well, g'day there, gorgeous people. I can just about see you all sitting around the TV or whatever device you're watching from. Are you ready to jump into the first episode of Fun Time Family Art? Have you got your sketch pads and your pencils ready? Well, if you haven't got a sketch pad, that's all right. All you need is a bit of A4 printer paper just to get you started. And you just have it resting on a book. Now, just make sure you choose someone to be in control or in charge of the remote. And I suggest either roll a dice or draw straws. Whoever gets the short straw is in charge of the remote. My name's Robbie Greer from Rusticated-Artist. And what do you reckon? You ready to jump on in? The whole idea of this series is that because of the comments that I've been getting from different subscribers to my channel, I've decided to create these videos so that everyone can just join in, sit around and have a bit of fun. It's all about enjoying yourself. It's about the journey. So what do you reckon? You ready to jump right in? Well, come on then. Okay, now, the equipment we're going to be needing today to draw our little picture, our little rustic scene, we're going to need an HB pencil and a 2B. Well, actually, you don't really need the 2B. An HB is all you need to start with, but because everyone's got an HB pencil lying around somewhere. The 2B I use because it's just a little bit darker, but we don't really need to do it. In fact, what I'll do is, for this exercise, we'll just use the HB. If you've got a 2B, that's fine. We're going to need a ruler, because what we'll be doing is we're using just the basic of shapes, the most basic of shapes. So we're going to be using a ruler, we're going to be using an eraser, and if you haven't got an A4 sketch pad, just a piece of paper will do. This is just a bit of photocopy paper. Oh, and the other thing you will need is a piece of tissue paper, and that is just so you can rest your hand on so you don't smudge your work. Right, let's get started. Look, obviously there are other gear that I use, and you'll use them as well. You know, once you start getting further down into more drawing and more detail and things like that, there's lots of other tools and that you can use as you get better at it. Now, I'm going to be using my A4 sketch pad, but like I said, if you haven't got a sketch pad, a drawing pad, don't worry about it. Just whatever bit of paper you got. Right, now the first thing is we're going to draw a line across the bottom of our page, and I'm using the width of the ruler. And the ruler is about 4 centimeters. So depending on how thick your ruler, how wide your ruler is, but we want it about 4 centimeters. Okay, now, and I've come in, I've got it around the wrong way there, it's inches, 7 centimeters, and then 15. Right, and we'll do the same here. Come in about 7 centimeters and 15. So we're just working from the edge of the page. Now, I want this to be, we'll make it 7 centimeters in height. We'll do the same on this side. And then we're just going to roll a little line across there. And that's our first shape. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're using a ruler because a ruler just makes it a little bit easier to get started. And this is the basic shape that we're going to be using. It's a rectangle. It could be a pipe. But today we're going to be using it as a post. So now that we've got these lines, and we don't like straight lines. We don't like hard lines. So what we do, we're just going to go over there, holding the pencil on its side, and we just follow that line down. Just take your time, and then the same on the side. Just follow that line down. Don't use the pointy side. You want your pencil to have quite a bit of lead on it, so you don't have to. You can use a Stanley knife or some other tool to do it, but you just want it to be quite sharp and quite long because we're going to be using the side of the pencil. And then across the top. And if you look, I made a bit of a bump there. That doesn't matter. Now, the next thing we do is we hold our pencil on its side. We're going to hold it flat. And we're just going to come down here and just gently start to shade it in. Just take your time. We're not in a race. It's not a competition. Just take our time. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake. Just try and get as close to that edge as you can. Alright, just like that. That's what you got to do. Actually, I'm going to bring it in a bit closer. Now, if you look closely, you'll see that the pencil, the graphite that you're laying down on, we talk about laying out because everything is in layers. It's all about building layers. So if you look really closely, you'll see that there's all sorts of little imperfections in what we've just laid down. Now that is what we're going to use to create the texture. In fact, we've already got the texture there. It's just created from what the pencil is going along on the paper. And that's what's created that texture. Now, the next thing we do is we've just got to go right along the edge here, just a shade, a touch darker, a little bit different in tone. What they call value. So we're just going to go just, you can hardly notice it. See how that is? You just bring it in there. And do the same on this side. We're trying to match it to the same tone as the edge. See how that sort of stands out a bit. We don't want it to stand out. So what we do, we're just going to just gently just shade it in. Oh, now there was a couple other things that I forgot to mention. Blending stump. Now, if you haven't got a blending stump, one of these, have a look in the kitchen, in the bathroom. You may have one of these, cotton bud. So tip, whatever whatever they call them. And what we're going to do is we're just going to softly blend with our blending stump, or if you've got a Q-tip, just going to softly blend that in together. Look, just like that. Now, it's a little bit messy along here, so I just want to just take that out. It's best just to clean up as you go. And what I've done here with this eraser, I've just sliced it into a little bit of a point. Then I've got a brush, just an ordinary little brush, just to brush away all the crumb. Now we can get a little bit more fancier here. We can, if you look down here, you'll see, if you look closely at the page, it's there, at what you've drawn, and you'll see, look, there's little wee imperfections and things going on in here. You know, it's darker here and lighter there, so we're going to use that to our advantage. And we just go in here like this, and just, look, there's a little knot there. And yours might be, well, yours will be different. It won't be exactly the same as mine. And what I mean is that they'll be in a different place. They'll be there. And just remember, pause as often as you want. I'm just going to be doing this in real time, so it's not going to be too fast. And I'm just going in and just putting in these little lines and things. Then I'm going to go in with my blending stump and just little circular motions, just soften those lines up. And that's how we're building up layers of texture, or the layers of graphite. Now we're going to do another one. So I think if we go from the inside, from this point here, we'll go, say 6. No, we'll go 7. 15. So up here, we'll go 7, and then 1.5. So we go to 8.5, from 7 to 8.5, and that's going to be the next post. What we're doing here is we're building, or we're drawing, and we went 7, just a simple basic post and rail fence. A little bit across the top there. And now this is where you use your tissue paper here, your kitchen paper towel. Lay it on there so that you don't smudge it all. And then we do the same. Just take your time. It doesn't matter if you run off the side, it doesn't matter if you go over, well, they don't want to be that big, but you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Get as close as you can to it. Yeah, across there. Remember, these are old posts. They go in again and shade. I'm going to use that because it could well be that's how the shape of the post, I have a saying, and that saying is, imperfection is in the eye of the beholder. I'm scared we have our pencil flat, and look, we're just going in here. And you don't have to just stay in the one spot, you can go across here, and what that'll do is it'll give a different texture. And don't forget, we just got to go down the side here, just to match it up with the line, the same darkness. And the other thing, of course, is that by darkening the sides, it gives the impression that the post is round. Because it's darker, it gives the impression, or the illusion, that it's further away. That's the thing that I love about drawing, is that with just a pencil, a pencil, a bit of paper, an eraser and a ruler, we can create a bit of dimension, a 3-dimensional drawing. And I love the feel of the graphite on the paper. So see here, now we've got a different texture again, but because we went across instead of just going up and down, and we've got this here, look. Just put those in there. And this is just a generic drawing, which means it doesn't exactly exist. It's just in my head, just drawing along. But you might have a nice fence at your own place, or down the road, or your neighbours might have one. Take a photo of it, use that as a reference. This is just to help you get started. This is more of a Tertullian because it's quite a thin one. But all craft shops have them. You can even make your own. Okay, so just blending all that and just softening it up. Now we've got two posts in the ground. It's gone a bit blurry over here, so I just want to take that out. Just using the eraser, my little brush there, just to brush it away. Okay, now we've got to put in some rails. Alright, and then we're just going to come down here. We'll put the first line in. That's 5mm down from the top, roughly. You know, this is not exact. Remember, we just got to imagine that these are just old. It's an old post. Now we come down here. I don't know, about what have we got now? Just give you a rough idea. I just do it by eye, but I can tell you what the measurements are, and they're only approximate. Okay, so we've made that 10mm, and the gap in between the posts is about 12-13mm. Now what I like to do is to turn the page around, because I like to go with the flow of up and down as opposed to going across. I just find it easier for me. Now we're just going to go in here and do the same thing. First of all, we're just going to go in here and go over that line again, over the line that we've ruled. Now, just to give it a bit more realism, I'm going to go like this. Draw a half circle. Like that. And do the same here. Doesn't have to be, and that doesn't have to be perfect either. Remember, what we're drawing here, imagine if it was just an old post and rail fence that we've come across. It's just out there in the paddock, and it was cut by manual labour. It wasn't made in a factory, this was made on the farm. So they had the axes out, and maybe they had a chainsaw, but if they didn't, they just would have used their axes. So what we've got now is put the rails in, and then we go right across. What I normally do is I'll take that out so we don't see that line there. So we take that out, brush away the crumb, and then we just carry on and shade it all in. And remember, just take your time, pause whenever you need to. Now, this is the exact same lesson that I teach here in my studio, right up until the pandemic came, and then I just shut it all down, or we had to. But I teach the same process in my workshops. And you know, if you've never drawn anything before, and I think the biggest fear or problem is that drawing can be so overwhelming. When you look at an image and you think, how can you create that? And it doesn't have to be, because we're breaking it down into the basics. You know, and that just makes it so simple. So what we've used here is 5 basic shapes to create this. And then we've just added like the texture and things. So what we're going to do, we'll work on this side here. We'll come back to all this because we're going to put some more detail in. But what I want to do now is just to darken up just around here. And that gives the impression that the rail is actually in the post. Now we just apply a little bit of shading. Once again, holding the pencil, I'm not as flat as before, in a similar position. We sort of just want it to be. So we got more of the side to draw with, you know. So we got that, as opposed to that. Okay, that's all we're trying to do. And then of course it'll be a little bit darker in here. Not much sun getting in there. So we're doing also now we're doing the shading techniques, and that just gives the drawing a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more detail, a little bit more realistic. And here, and like I say, you can spend as much time as you want drawing these. You can spend as little time as you want. You can have it all drawn 10 minutes. Now in my classes, each class goes for an hour and a half. And we have a break after 45 minutes. So when you're drawing along here, set your clock, put the timer on it. Let's put in a bit more detail. Put the 45 minutes max, because you've got to get up and move around. You just have to. Now, I'm just going to go in here again. Now, generally speaking, the bottom of these rails is going to be a little bit darker than the top, because the light source is either coming from the sides or from the top, but it's not coming from the bottom. And you think about that, the sun's either above it or at the side of it. It's certainly not going to be below it. So we'll just darken that up a little bit. And I'm also, now I'm going in and I'm using the point of my pencil here now just to define that line there a little bit more. And then also to put in these little wood grain marks. It wouldn't be bark, because the bark would have been stripped off them, but you can still see the grain of the wood and the knots. And this is just something that you'll learn over time. To start with, you won't feel quite right about where you're putting, little marks. We tend to sort of go a little bit overboard in places, but that's just a matter of just practicing, and you get the hang of it. And at the moment, all we want to do is just do something really basic, something that's going to give you the desire to want to go a little bit further. I want to take that there out. Keep it nice and tidy. Brush away the crumb. Just doing little circular motions. And see how that's creating a bit different texture in there? Because you've got graphite on the end there now. And I use that. Why not? Alright, then we'll move up to the next one. See how we've got this hard line, which we don't want to see. We want to blend that in. So we're going to have to make that a little bit darker. That's alright. Blend it in, and then we'll go darker on the bottom. And see how it's not a straight line, it's a bit wriggly, a bit wiggly. And that's what we want. It's exactly what we want. Go in here and just, with the point of my pencil, just darkening that up a bit. Same over that side. Now I hope you're all drawing along. As I said, just pause. Who's in charge of the remote? I don't want any arguments. Just darkening that up a bit. Don't be scared to make mistakes. It's expected. Only way you're going to learn properly. But by watching and drawing along with these videos, you're going to be minimising the mistakes. Or when you do make a mistake, hopefully I can show you what to do to rectify it. And we'll just do the top one. I never get sick of drawing these. I've drawn I don't know how many of these, in my classes and that. To me, every drawing is new. It's different. Oh, sorry. We're out of camera there. Okay, so now we just go in. Just going to just darken that up, because it's got to come to the same. We want it to be the same tone as the line that we drew in. So always just do everything very, very lightly. Don't use pressure. That's why we have different size pencils. The leads, the graphite in the pencil. Like, as I say, we're using an HB. That's probably, it's H stands for hard and B stands for black. And you've got H pencils which are harder and not so soft and not so black. And HB is sort of about the middle ground. So we can blend with an HB. But see, if you want it darker, then we'd go to a 2B or a 3B or even higher. They go up to 12B. So we don't have to sort of put too much pressure on pencil. We just use a different darkness, different tone. Now another thing which I use is a kneadable eraser, except I don't actually use a kneadable eraser. I use blue tack, and you just stretch it out. You can use a kneadable eraser. I don't know. I've just found that I prefer using blue tack. In fact, I don't even know if this is blue tack, but it's the same sort of thing. You get them in the art supplies shops and that. And then what I'll do, I just sort of make a little bit of a point or a flat surface, and then I go in and just tap away and just take a little bit out. And see, that gives another texture again. See how, and that's there. So we're just going to squish that up. And we go in here, and I might just take a bit out like that. And you see all these sort of little marks on posts and that. And then I'm going to go in again and just use my blending stump. Or you can use, I've got a little paintbrush that I use. And that's even softer. What I do with that, I just go in. Yeah, that's just softened it all up, push it all back. If you've got got a paintbrush and we've got some old art gear lying around, it all comes in handy. I'm just going to go in here and just darken that up. I'm just going across the top there, so you can just see the top of the post in here, and that's pretty much it. I'll come back to that. I'll play around with that for ages because I try to get it as even more realistic. But anyway, that's it. That's the first drawing, and if you've drawn along with me, I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to give me a like, thumbs up, and if you want to find out more and want to carry on with drawing lessons, hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Leave a comment, let me know what you're thinking. And if you've enjoyed it, like I say, if you enjoyed it, just give me a like, tell me what you think. Alright, I'm going to leave that for now. The next step we're going to do though, in part 2, will be we're going to put a gate in here and maybe another post. So we're going to make it into a nice little rustic scene. Okay, well thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Well, you made it to the end. Now I really enjoyed putting this video together and sharing it with you guys, and I hope you got something out of it. I hope you're able to join in and have some fun as well. Like I say, to me, it's all about the journey. It's about enjoying yourself, having a good time, Doesn't matter how it turned out. The fact of the matter is you did it. You had a go. Tap yourself on the back and you should feel proud, because you should be. Now, I'd love it if you'd leave a comment. Let me know how you feel. And if you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, leave a comment, share it with your friends, because if you enjoyed it, I'm sure they're going to enjoy it as well. And it would certainly help me out with my little YouTube channel. And if you haven't subscribed, please feel free to subscribe. I know the word subscribe sort of means, oh, it must be going to cost something. If you subscribe to a magazine or something like that. But seriously, with YouTube, there's no cost involved. I'm doing this for free because I love doing it. I love sharing it with you. Now, part 2 is just about ready, so I'm going to be uploading that in the next couple of days. But in the meantime, just carry on with part 1. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.